So, okay, I guess others will join slowly. So let's start. So in the last class, we were talking about the JSPs. We have got now fair enough knowledge of JSPs. Now you know that a servlet can call a JSP. Servlet can share the data with JSP. In fact, JSP is also a servlet. So we saw all these things in the last class. And a JSP can call another JSP. We did that in the last class, right? JSP can call another JSP. Not only that, a JSP can also share the data with another JSP. And how this can be done? Yes. What do you people think? How this can be done? Through scope objects. That's right, exactly. So, scope objects. So today we'll carry forward our discussion. So today I'm going to talk about the scope objects. So in the last class we saw that anyways, but still we have few more options to check here. So we saw that like you see the sample JSP is trying to share some details. What is it? Sample JSP has got supplier details. You see, got a supplier object here in which you got the supplier details. So it is adding that supplier object to the request scope in this line, and it forwards the request to the test JSP using request dispatcher. So we got other scopes also. So we'll discuss all those things. But before we move any further, I'm not sure how many of you people have noticed it. You see, the request object here, the request variable which you're using here, we didn't declare it anywhere. Am I right? We didn't declare this reference variable anywhere, but you're able to access it. We didn't declare it, or we didn't initialize it, right? Yeah. Yes. Just a second, please. Just a second. Yeah, sorry. So, you know, not only request variable, but for suppose if you want to print something, um, you can also do this. You see, println, what is it? Let's say supplier details. We can use out.println. See that out variable which you got here, that out variable, we didn't declare it or we didn't initialize it. Generally, if it is a servlet, so how will you obtain that out variable? Out in the sense, you see, it holds print writer object reference, right? How will you obtain an out variable? If it is in servlets, how will you obtain out variable usually? Through the response object, there is a method for that. What is that method? Response.getWriter. We have to initialize, sorry, we have to explicitly obtain that out print writer object and store it in that out variable. So that is what we do generally. Am I right? So, but when it comes to this JSP, we are not declaring this out variable. Even the request also, generally if it is request, we'll declare it in that parameter. We declare it as a parameter in the service method. So you'll find that they are directly available here. You know, such objects are called as implicit, such variables are called as implicit variables. Implicit variables. Okay. Implicit variables means the variables which we don't need to declare them explicitly and initialize them. By default, that variables are available in the JSP. By default, the variables are available in the JSP. Such variables are called as implicit variables. So you got 9 implicit variables in JSPs, like request, it is of type HTTP servlet request object. Response, it is of type HTTP servlet response. And out, it is of type JSP writer. It is the subtype of print writer. We got config, it is of type servlet configuration object. And we got application, it is of type servlet context object. And we got page, is this is something new for us, page. I'm sorry. Page is a new variable in JSPs. We don't find it in servlets. Generally, this page variable, it holds a reference to that generated servlet object. It holds a reference to the generated servlet class object. Yeah. Next, we got the page context, and this is also new. You won't find it in servlets. Only in JSPs you'll find it. We got session. We'll talk about the session later on. HTTP session. It is of type HTTP session. Last one is exception. It is of type throwable. So yes, these are all considered as implicit variables. 9 implicit variables are there. Yes, Neil. Hi, you just joined, right? So what you're looking at, they are implicit variables. Yes, all of you. We call them as implicit variables. That means we don't need to declare these variables in the JSP, especially in the scriptlets. You see, this is scriptlet code. This is scriptlet. In the scriptlets, you can access the implicit variables. So sorry, these are all the variables which are available. Please make a note of it. So variable name, and it is what type. That means it holds what type of object reference. I gave you the details here. Okay. So first request is a variable. It holds servlet HTTP servlet request object reference. And similarly, you got a response, another variable. It is of type HTTP servlet response. It holds HTTP servlet response object reference. Okay. Sorry. So similarly, you got other variables also. Have you people made a note of it? Okay. Shall I move on? Okay, good. So now, sorry. Let's come back to the discussion here. So in the last class, we saw how to add an object to the request scope in the JSP. But in the JSP, we have one more option. In the JSP, there is one more option. So through the page context, it's one of the implicit variables which is available for the JSP. We can use it to add the data to the request scope. This we can add the data to the request scope. I'll show you people. Yes. So now this statement is same as this statement, line number 16. Both are same. Okay. Sorry. Here, first parameter is the object name, which you want to add to the request scope. The second parameter is the object reference. You see, the third parameter is the scope details. So what is this request scope here? Page context is a class. In this class, request scope is a what type of variable? Can you tell me? What type of variables do we access them using class name? Which variables are accessed using the class name? Static variables. So request scope is a static variable which is defined in that page context. So it represents that request scope, I can say. Okay. So this is how you specify. So you want this indicates that you want the supplier object to be added to the request scope. So line number 18 is same as line number 16. So JSPs, you can also do this. Yes. So is it clear for everyone? Yes, all of you. Hope you people got it. This is the other way of adding the an object to the request scope. This is the other way of adding an object to the request scope. Okay. Next, I'll show you one more option here in JSP. You see, to call another JSP, first of all, we have to obtain a request dispatcher object and then call the forward method, right? But there is another shortcut here for us in JSPs, but we can't do this in servlets. We can do this. page context dot forward, pass the JSP name. Okay, yeah. Okay, so line number 20 is same as these two lines of code which I've highlighted. It is same as line number 22 and 24. That means in combine. So what we are achieving here through these two lines, calling the other JSP through the request dispatcher, right? So we can achieve the same thing this way. Okay. So now let's run this code. Now what happens here, you see, first we are adding the object to the request scope, and then we are forwarding the request to the test JSP. Yeah. So now test JSP will be invoked. See, in the test JSP, what we are doing, we are trying to read that supplier object from the request scope. We are reading the supplier object from the request scope. Okay. So we have another option here. Generally, this is how we read the object from the request scope. In servlets, we do that. In JSPs also we can do that, but in JSPs we got one more option. You can use page context also. The same thing can be achieved through the page context object. So in the page context, we got that method get attribute. I'm sorry. We got that method get attribute. To this method, you'll pass that name as well as the scope details. Page context dot request scope. Okay. So this is the other option which we got. That's it. Okay. So now I'll call sample page or sample JSP, which in turn calls test page. You see, in the test page, we got the supply details. So test page is able to successfully read that supply details. Okay. So any questions in this regard, please let me know. So what we did, is it clear for you people? Okay, good. So now, in JSpace, we have 4 scopes. In servlets, we have 3 scopes only. But when it comes to JSpace, I can say we got 4 scope objects. What are the scopes? Let's see. Before that, just a second, please. Just a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. So JSP scope objects are request, okay, you know JSP and servlet scope objects will be almost same, but there is one additional scope for servlets, sorry, JSPs. You know, the three scopes which are common between servlets and JSPs are request scope, servlet context scope. Servlet context scope is actually called as application here, and we got session scope, and the last scope is page scope. This is only in Java, particularly for Java. Okay, this scope is particularly for Java here. Okay, yes. So now we'll see this page scope. Page scope means, okay, not only page scope. Let me tell you people how to add the object to different scopes in JSP. How to add object to different scopes in JSP. I'm sorry. You see, already we saw how to add the object to the request scope, right? If you want to add the object to the context scope, servlet context scope, then do this. Use application scope. Please make a note of it. Please make a note of it. Okay. And now, what if you want to add this object to the session scope? Then you need to do this page context dot session scope. Okay. Okay. Yes. Now, similarly, what if you want to add the object to the page scope? If you want to add it to the page scope, then you do this page context dot page scope. Okay. Yeah. Now, what if an object is added to the page scope? What if an object is added to the page scope? Any idea? Anyone got any idea? No? Okay. You know what? If the object is added to the page scope, then you can only access that object or that data within the same page. We can only access the data within the same page. Okay, within the same page. I'm sorry. Yeah, within the same JSP page. Now we have added it in page scope, right? Now what happens? You'll be able to only access it in the sample page. Okay, yeah. This time, you see, now we are adding it to the page scope, right? Now in the other JSP, we are called. I'll try to read it from the page scope. Let's see what happens. It won't work. Okay, so let's run this code. You'll get this exception. Okay, so that object is not found. Okay, yeah. Why we have to access it in the same page? We'll see that. Don't worry. When we talk about JSTL expression language, we'll see that. Okay, within the same page, you can access it. For that, actually, we can use expression language. We can use expression language for the purpose of expression language. We do that. It's a very simple language. Uh, I'll show you people here. I've added it to the page scope, right? I can easily access it here now. See, supplier.id. So player name, that's it. Okay, I'll not call the other page. I'll comment this code. You see, now we are not forwarding the request to the next JSP. Within the same page, now we'll try to access that object, so which is added to the page scope. Yes. Sample JSP. See, not test page. Just a second. See, okay, fine. So, sorry. These are all the things now which we can do here with the scriptlets. So far we have worked with scriptlets. We got other JSP elements also. We'll have a look into them once. Okay. So we saw scriptlet so far. Scriptlet. So why do we use scriptlets? Yes, this is the syntax for scriptlet, right? So why do we use scriptlet? So we embed Java code using scriptlet. Okay. Next, now whatever the Java code we write in the scriptlet, yes. So where it is added to the generated servlet, we saw the generated servlet, right? Where exactly that Java code is added in the generated servlet. Yes. in the whatever the Java code we write in the scriptlet, yes, where it is added to the servlet which is generated. We saw generated servlet in the last class, right? Where it is added, I'll show you people once you check this. In the generated servlet, you have service method, right? This is a service method you see in the generated servlet. It's directly the Java code which you written, you see, it is copied into this service method. Yes, so hope you people got it. Okay, so any questions here? Fine. Next, we got other JSP elements also. So let me just list down them first and then we'll discuss about it. We got declarations. The syntax of declaration is this. Using declaration also, we can embed Java code into the JSP. Okay, we can embed Java code into the JSP. And what else you have? We got expressions. Just make a note of it. I'll talk about it later. Using expression is same as your out.println, used to print some content onto the console. It is used to print some content onto the console. Yes. Okay. Next, we got directives. The expression, the syntax for directives is this: at the rate See, directives are again divided into three types: include, page, and taglib. Three different types of directives are there. Next, we got comments. So if you want to add comments to the JSP page, so we can do this. If you want to add comments to the JSP page, then we can do this. Last one is JSP actions. Okay, syntax is JSP. It is slightly different. JSP colon action name slash greater than symbol. That's it. You'll find that you have different types of JSP actions, which we'll see. So please make note of it first of all. Okay, are you people done? So now we'll talk about declarations. We can also use declarations to embed Java code into the JSP. You see now this is declaration. But you know what? Whatever the Java code we write, here, whatever the Java code we write here, you'll find that it is directly copied into the generated servlets class. A servlet will be generated for this JSP, right? So it will be added to the generated servlet class directly into the class, not inside any method. So earlier when we are talking about scriptlets, you'll find that the Java code we write in the scriptlet is copied into the service method, right? No, not into the service method, but directly into that servlet class, generated servlet class. That means, can I define a method here using the declarations? Can I define a method using declaration? In that declaration, can I define a method? Yes, you can do that because it is added to that servlet class, right? But in scriptlets, you cannot define a method because the scriptlet Java code which you write in the scriptlet is copied into the service method, right? So if you define a method in the scriptlet, then that method will be added to the service method. We cannot have a method inside a method. It is not possible. We cannot define a method inside a method. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, but here we can do this. Come on. I can define a method this way. Right? I'm not writing any instructions, just to demonstrate it. That's it. You see now, I'll run this code. Now you open the generated servlet here. So this is the generated servlet class. You'll find that process method is here directly in the class. Okay. So this way, whatever the Java code we write in the declaration, is added to the servlet class. Next, we'll talk about directives. Before we talk about this directives, we'll go through the life cycle phases of a JSP. Okay, we'll go through life cycle phases of a JSP. Yes. JSP, it goes through various phases, I can say. The JSP usually it will go through various phases. So the first phase is translation phase. First phase is translation phase. So what happens during this phase? You know, when you execute a JSP for the first time, if you execute a JSP or when the JSP is executed for the first time, first of all, the JSP is translated into a servlet. You know, this phase where a JSP is translated into a sorry, into a servlet is called as translation phase. It is called as translation phase. So during the translation phase, what happens? Please make a note of it. A JSP is translated into a servlet. So I can say the input in this phase is JSP, and the output of this phase is servlet. Generated servlet, I can say. Sorry. You'll get a source file. You'll get a source file. So next, you know, after the translation phase, compilation will take place. So during the compilation phase, what happens? So the generated servlet is passed on the source file. .jar file is generated. In that, you'll find that generated servlet class. So it will be compiled. Okay, it will be compiled. So compilation phase, simply the generated servlet will be compiled. Next, we got loading and instantiation phase. Sorry, simply you can say instantiation. So during this phase, what happens? Yes, the servlet class which is generated, servlet class which is generated, that servlet class is instantiated. Servlet class object will be created. It is instantiated. Okay, it is instantiated. Servlet class object is created. So after that, now you got the regular phases, I can say, like the initialization phase, initialization phase, and request parsing. Parsing, destroying servlet. So initialization phase, JSP, the servlet container, what it does is, it will call JSP init method of the servlet class to initialize the servlet. It will call the JSP init method of the servlet class. Okay. Next, once the JSP init method executes, the JSP is initialized. JSP is initialized. Now once it is initialized, you see each time the client places a request, the JSP service method will be invoked. Okay, these are lifecycle methods. Now you know that whenever the container decides to destroy the servlet, it will call the destroy method. It is going to call the destroy method. Yes. Okay. So these are the various phases of your servlet. Different phases of your servlet. Yeah. You know, when the for the first time when you execute a JSP, it will take some time to execute because the JSP has to go through all these phases, most of the phases you see, like translation, compilation, instantiation, initialization, request parsing and all. Okay, yes. Hope you people got it. Yes. But if you want, I'm sorry, we can pre-compile the JSPs. So make sure that you pre-compile the JSP. Just a second. So how to pre-compile a JSP, I'll show you just a second. Just a second, please. So why do we need to pre-compile the JSP? First of all, let me explain this. As I told you people, we got a lengthy process here. If a JSP has to execute, so it has to go through various phases, right? Yes. So and when the client, first time when the client places a request, first time when the client places a request, then it would take more time, right, to process that request. So that's the reason why what you can do is here you can pre-compile the JSP this way. Sample.jsp, add a question mark, then JSP underscore compile equal to true. You can set it to true. That's it. So when you do this, the JSP will be compiled. Okay, the JSP will be compiled. Now the JSP will be ready. Now whenever you want to call the JSP, whenever the client places a request for the JSP, this time JSP will be quickly executing because it is pre-compiled. Okay, yes. So hope everyone got it, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'll do one thing. I'll stop it here today. Okay. So hopefully I should be fine with my sore throat also by tomorrow. Yeah, it's the only concern for me now. So let's meet tomorrow and we'll continue discussion. Okay. So tomorrow we got a class at the same time. So almost we'll be done with the GSPs tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So I'll be talking about the rest of the GSP elements and we'll talk about GSTL as well. Yeah. Okay then. So